Monday, February 12th, we'll begin our regular scheduled board meeting for the Tello School District with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome our guests here tonight, and I don't believe there's any need for translation. So unless someone could tell me something different, I'm going to move on. I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda. Been a motion by Director Johnson to approve.
Second.
Second by Director Garza. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. We'll now move on to item B1, public comment. Is there any request for public comment? Okay. So we'll move on to item B2, student representative reports.
Well, we both have kind of big lists, but so we got all of our students from OHS. It took about a couple weeks to get everybody over, and we finally have them. They have their Chromebooks, so that's nice. It was kind of a struggle for a while. 4 students came up from our night school program because they met the criteria, which is 1.5 credits. So that means they completed 4 Odyssey classes, I believe. 5 Odyssey classes, actually. So that's good. And so now our total students at DOHS is 87, including our night school kids. We also took the stamp test again. 38 of our students have now taken the test. There were a total of 81 credits earned by our students, so that's really awesome. An average of 2.1 credits were awarded to each of our students. We have recently started an electric parent involvement committee. Parents receive our staff agenda and can provide feedback to our school by email. Our goal is to have 6 parents on this committee. We currently have 3 parents who have agreed to be a part of this, so it's basically just getting parents to be more involved, which is something we've kind of struggled with in the past, so now we're trying to get them more involved, and so that's really nice. Our proudest accomplishment is that our Star 360 ELA and math scores show improvement. Last year we only had 1 student meet the criteria, and this year we have, I believe it was 17 students at grade level and 14 slightly below grade level, so I mean, still a huge improvement. 7 students at grade level for ELA and 6 below bubble students. They're, just right below. And February 7th, our Mr. Damon, he's our science teacher. He's also our leadership teacher, visited Delta High School in Pasco to learn more about project-based learning, so basically more hands-on learning and creative projects, and I believe he's in the works of creating one right now, so that's interesting. And our monitor is now up, not our reader board, but our monitor inside the building is now up and working, so that's nice. So if you walk in, you can see all of our students and staff. DOHS admin is working on getting our school a much-needed storage shed. Very promising, according to Dr. Boda, so thank you guys for that. And we finally have a leadership class. Our leadership teacher quit this past year, so this first semester was a little rocky, so we didn't have a leadership teacher, but now we do, and they've decorated the foyer, organized upcoming college field trips, which I believe are going to WSU, Eastern, and the 2 community colleges, so CBC and BCC, I think. I don't know. And they've created a birthday calendar for all students and organized a Madden video game tournament after school. So it's just involving the kids, basically kind of like an after-school club. Another thing I kind of wanted to talk about is not all of our students that took the stamp test passed, so they still need credits. I'm one of them. I tried it, and I failed miserably. But we don't have a forged language teacher at our school, and so the teachers are trying to get maybe like a teacher from the middle school or the high school trying to come down for 1 or 2 periods so we can get the kids that need the foreign language their credits, because we have a lot of kids that need it, and there's just too many to send them over to the high school for 1 or 2 periods. It's just not gonna click with our schedules and stuff. So maybe that can be in the works, hopefully, which would be nice. And that's it. Any questions?
No. Thank you for, none for me anyway.
I have a quick one. So when you say doing the stamp test, that's so that you can get past needing the language requirements for graduation?
Yes.
That's just to accommodate that?
Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
you can get a total of 4 credits. Most of our kids got an average of 2.1 credits, and you need 2 credits to graduate.
Okay.
So,
But there's no foreign language being taught at Desert Oasis at all?
Yeah.
So only if you have it in your home
mm-hmm,
are you even able
Basically.
to accommodate that?
basically, unless you do it on Odyssey, which it's incredibly difficult to do online. So we're really trying to get not a full-time, there all day, but at least 2 periods so you could have like a Spanish A and then Spanish B, or, more advanced. So that would be really nice. And we're looking at almost losing our fine arts teacher, so we won't have arts either because he's looking at transferring or something like that. So that can really hurt us as well. So having a foreign language teacher is we really need one. So it'd be nice if we could try to
So,
accommodate that.
I remember Shockey was teaching us Chinese, I believe, there, right, Mandarin?
Mm-hmm. But he's
was
moved to
that
the high school.
last year or the year before? How long have you been at the high school? Is this his first year or second year at the high school?
This is his first year.
First year, okay, so this year left you without a foreign language instructor,
Mhm.
right? Okay.
And when you say fine arts, you mean for next year?
For
fine
next
arts
year,
is
yeah.
leaving?
Right now we're nice.
You have
we're
one.
good.
Okay. All right.
He's not 100% certain, so it's a little rocky there, but we really do need the foreign language teacher.
Okay, thanks.
So I'd like to get some clarification from Dr. Hurst about maybe future plans for Desert Oasis in those
Mhm.
areas.
Yeah, I'm going to defer to Pete Perez. He can expand on that.
Sure. So there is, I believe we have had a formal resignation of fine arts position at OHS and DOHS, but certainly that we've already have candidates that are interested in filling the position, so that position will be filled, and we'll continue to offer that service. The idea about foreign language at DOHS, one of the more exciting things in the works is the partnership that's being developed between the principal, Mr. Tovar, and the principal, Mr. Vergara, at OHS, and this idea about students who are in your situation having the opportunity to take a Spanish course at Othello High School. So actually participating at both sites. There's a level of collaboration that's happening between those 2 schools that's new for our system. Another, I think, opportunity that's coming our way is as we look at the staffing at MMS, and we look at world language opportunities there as well. Is there a way to partner that person 1 period a day, just so to make sure we meet the needs over at DOHS? So it's not something that's been forgotten. It's just how are those partnerships going to work, and how do we provide services for students who can access it through the stamp test?
Thank you, Pete. Any other questions from the board?
I do have a question on the fine arts teacher. What are they actually teaching that's not when they're not teaching fine arts? I know last year there was a teacher that was doing the Othello High and Desert Oasis for 1 period, and so they didn't have a prep period. So how is it working out this year? Who is teaching it?
Mr. Ludi, he's one of the band teachers, so he goes to like 4 different schools throughout the day, I think, or 4 or 5. He's all over the place. And so he's not really trained in the fine arts teaching, so we're basically just learning about music, which is considered an art.
Okay.
So he's doing the best that he can, and we did a lot of projects and stuff, but he was really stressed out, and we felt really bad for him because it was a lot on his plate, and it was too much. So I think that's...
Okay, so it's music as
Yeah.
the fine art is the way
He
that
tried
that's being
incorporating
fulfilled.
art, but he's not an art teacher, so it was difficult for him to...
Right.
He did his best, and he did
Okay.
a good job, I think. But it would be nice to have an actual art teacher teaching art and a music teacher teaching music, because he did. Miss G would do actual art, and then he would have a music class as well, where he would just basically teach like the history of music, I think, or how instruments work. And so we had 2 different classes that were available for that, but now we only have 1 because Miss G isn't teaching art because they wouldn't allow it in her schedule because she just had too many students doing art. So we're at a loss here.
Thank you.
All right, Kaden, take it away.
Okay, I have a long list too. So mine's like from the beginning of February till now. Going into February, the morale for students was very low. There was an incident at our last senior night basketball game that I have talked to Mr. Vergara about, and hopefully we've solved it for next year so it doesn't happen again. And at that same meeting, we actually talked about getting the round table started, and he talked about what it should look like at our school, and I believe he said he would take it to the principals meeting and introduce it to the other principals as well, so that's rolling now, which is great. But since then, you know, we've had a lot of accomplishments. Our chess team won state. Wrestling, they're going to state next weekend. And we're very proud of our basketball boys. Even though they didn't go all the way, they still made it very far. And I don't know if anyone went to the Afraida game, but there was also a battle of the bands, and our band did absolutely amazing, and they deserve so much praise than they get. Mini homecoming is this week. On Thursday, we will be having Buff Puff, where boys play volleyball, and then on Wednesday we're going to have like a Valentine's mixer, and all the money raised from there will go to chess club. One thing I wanted to touch with you guys really quick is I know last year Bridges was in the middle of the week, and I think the year before that was on a Friday. So I don't know if the middle of the week is still something we're aiming for, or if you would want it to be closer to the weekend.
My personal feeling as a board member is that it's absolutely up to you guys what you find is best.
Okay.
But when you say middle of the week, you don't mean Wednesday.
Last year it was on a Wednesday.
I would advise against a Wednesday.
Okay.
Specifically. I know for many churches that's church night, and I think that would be a huge conflict for many families.
Thank you. And then today there was a fire alarm pulled. I'm sure you guys heard about that. And then our visit to the Koga, your makerspace that they have, I don't know if we're talking about this later, but I wish we had that when we were younger, because it opens up, like, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but it opens up the youth's mind to so many different opportunities, and it's things that we never had. Like, I couldn't imagine having that when I was little, and I think it's just amazing. And I really find the dual language program really interesting, and I think it's really good that it's cultivating an environment where kids can interact with other kids, even though there is that language barrier there. So I think that's really cool. That's it. Any questions?
Any questions from the board?
What was the incident? I wasn't there, so I don't know.
The incident was we don't have a designated student section in our gym. I'm sure you've seen, and we don't have a designated band section. And so on senior night, of course, the gym was packed. It was an amazing game. It was really close, but we had some students standing up because they were really excited. It's senior night, and then we got told that technically we were on the gym floor, so we had to stand in the stands. And when we did stand in the stands, we had parents cursing at us and using profanity, and we got told instead of the big part about it was the kids were mad that the admin didn't stand up for them, and instead told, like, you have to sit down, like, you're causing a problem. And then we would continue to get cussed at. And yeah. So I think that kind of brought the morale down.
Okay. Well, thank you for your reports. We'll move on to item B3, board member reports. First item is the legislative report from Director Stevenson.
I just wanted to see if we need to arrange rides and how many people are going from the board to the legislative reception on the 20th. I think that was the date. In Olympia?
Yep, that's our third item on here. I won't be able to attend.
I'll be out of
Mike.
town, so.
You were planning anyways?
Yes.
Okay.
And I haven't heard anything from Tony. I don't know if he'll be able to or not. I'm not sure
Okay.
when he's coming back. But
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. That was it for legislative.
Okay. The next item is linkage committee recommendations, and as the board probably remembers, Jen had come in and let us know what the results were of the linkage committee that the board had asked to be formed a few months back, and so Jen has provided the different groups, and so now I guess the next question would be what is as a board, what do we want to do with this? My suggestion would be that we maybe set up a workshop to talk about
specifically about linkage over the next year, or maybe even 2 years, and how this will fit into that. All right. So is that something that we want to look to do in the next month, or what's the board feel on that?
Like the beginning of next month? Are you thinking like an actual next month workshop?
You know, a lot of times we'll look to do a workshop on the off Mondays that we don't have a board meeting, so, you know,
Right.
it could be the 19th or pushed off till March. Or we could have it on a different day too. It doesn't have to be on a Monday.
Can we think April?
We have one request to wait till April. How's the rest of the board feel? What do you think, Ken?
I think a workshop would be a good environment for it, and then also, I don't mind April.
And I don't imagine it would be a long workshop, but it would, we'd be able to just really focus on that specific topic.
But just, we need to remind ourselves, it would be towards the middle of April because we'll be gone that first weekend.
Yep, that's also.
Conference.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be more towards the middle of the month, which is fine.
You good with that? Does everyone get that? Okay, so we would be looking at, well, April 2nd would be an option, right? We want to do it right at the beginning of April,
Mm,
and then April 16th.
16 would works better for me.
What's that?
The 16th works better for me if the 2nd and the 16th are options.
16th, I would prefer
Jen?
first.
16th works?
All right, well, let's just plan on that then.
p.m.
Probably dinner at 6, and then the meeting would start about 6:15.
Just plan 6 to 8 though, right?
I think that would be safe. 6
Okay.
to 8, yeah. Everyone agree with that?
It's fine.
Okay.
Great.
There is a chamber banquet coming up, and I know a lot of like different businesses will be there. So if you're looking at maybe getting more involved, going to one of those would be, like it's like the annual one, so. I don't know.
All right, thank you.
If
Bear
we
with
are
me.
planning on going to something like that, do we all need to like correlate that so we can all go and tell people that we're not cavorting with each other or something, or that's not the right term
Yeah, I don't
at
think
all.
that,
But
I don't think necessarily in a small town that if the board all ends up in the same place, it has to be announced. But if the board is going to go as a board,
okay,
sit at the same table, those are the kind of things I think that we would want to announce that there's going to be a forum.
okay,
Yeah, I think if we all ended up in the same restaurant, it's not, we're not going to get in trouble for not announcing it in the paper.
okay.
Because there's not that many restaurants to choose from, so I should.
That too, right.
Okay, kind of on this, I'm going to flip it up a little bit here because we just talked about April. One of the things that was brought up is the NSBA conference that we're going to in April actually conflicts with our first meeting in April. And so, and this, I don't know if this specifically has happened before, but we've had Monday meetings that fall on a holiday. And typically the board has just met the next day on a Tuesday. I just want to see from this board if that's something you'd like to do. So, and I know not everyone's going to be back Tuesday for the meeting, and it's not a requirement, but we want to make sure there's not going to be not going to be a quorum there. I'm coming back Monday. I believe Tony is as well.
I am.
Jen, you are, and you two, Ken and Mike, both are going to be coming back on Tuesday.
I come back
Um,
on Tuesday, but I looked at the flights today, and they're coming back early enough that I should be back in town with no problem at all.
Okay, Mike, And Mike, if you'd like us to do it a different day,
I have to check the itinerary. I don't know right off the top of my head.
if there is a conflict, would you like us to make it a different day so you could be there, or would you say just go ahead with the meeting? Or what's your call on that?
Just go ahead with the meeting.
Okay, so it sounds like the 10th, then our board meeting will move to the 10th. Same times, or we have an opportunity, it's a special meeting, we could do it earlier if we wanted to. I'm available earlier, so I can do it earlier, but I don't know if Tony is. What would be the preference?
Do you know what time you're getting back?
I think it was right around 12:30, so that's in Spokane. So I got plenty of time. I'd be back in the fall by
Okay.
3, 4 o'clock.
Nothing like rushing back for another meeting.
Yes.
He'll be so excited from the information he got from NSBA, though. It's going to be a good meeting.
I would be fine with 6.
Want to go 6 or just leave it alone, Ken?
6 will be fine.
And then, I mean, we can always check with Tony and then.
Yeah, if
change
Tony
it
says
back
it
if
might
we
be a
need to.
conflict. Yeah, so for now, we're going to
Okay.
say 6 o'clock. Okay. The last item under board member reports is Policy Governance Networking Summit. If the board wants to click on that, you can see essentially it was kind of an invite to anyone in the state who's doing policy governance. So I want to see if anyone was interested in that. It's less about hearing our story, I think, more about training.
I'll be out of town.
That same way, I get back from DC that day, so
Okay.
it'd be tough for me.
I am still not sure yet. That's like recover from Sand Hill Crane Festival weekend.
Well, I think something
So
like
I'm
that.
not sure.
We might want the full board to be able to attend that if it's specific or that. So, we can think about it. If Jen, if you decide that's something you want to do, and if Tony does as well, we can revisit this at the next board meeting then, and just
Okay.
and see where people are at, or maybe 2 board meetings. What do you think? I don't know if we have to get registered early.
I did say that there was like, that there's limited
70
numbers.
spots available.
And
Oh, for directors. I thought 70 schools. And I'm like, I don't know if 70 schools are doing policy governance, but 70 spots.
Right.
Yeah. Should we bring it up at the next board meeting again?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna have that back on director discussions. Okay. All right, well, if there's no other board discussions that maybe I've forgotten or that someone's thought of, we can talk about that now. If not, we'll move on. Okay. Move on to item C1, required approvals. I assume everyone's had a chance to go over that, and I'll entertain a motion.
A motion to approve the approvals? What, is that the right term?
Sure.
Required
There's
approvals.
been a motion by Director Stevenson to approve required approvals,
Second.
second by Director Garza. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. And we'll move on to item C2, superintendent comments. So in this, the only item we have is the Linkage Elementary School Annual Report. So Jen, take it away. We're excited to listen.
We're excited to be here today. I'm Jen Perez, the principal at Linkage Elementary, and I have my partners in collaboration, Amy Wright, our fabulous vice principal, and our instructional coach, Rosalba Samaron, and she is actually going to take us away for our first part, our great news. So here you go.
Great. Good evening, everybody. So our good news for Linkage so far this year has been an awesome year for us at Linkage, and our administrative team has been very supportive. They listen to us as teachers, and I guess that's part of the reason why I'm here, because at the beginning of the year I set my goal that I wanted to speak in front of audiences, and I guess my principal did listen to me. There had been brought a great vision to Lutakaga, but also within that vision, there's the establishing our dual language program at Lutakaga. And so it started with the year in July of 2017. At the beginning of the school year, we had a training for all the staff that included custodians, the people in the kitchen. All the staff was represented in the dual language. We call it the mini workshop for Dual Language 101, where they learned about the program, but they also learned about the other different programs for ELO students. And the purpose of our training was for them to know that this dual language is the program that works the best for ELO students because it's an additive program. So it's not taking away their first language, but it's adding their second language and English as well. As a result of that, when our principal started setting up the different committees for our school, ELA committee, math committee, the different committees that we have, a STEM committee, she also thought that it was necessary to have a dual language founders group. So we started with the staff that has been part of the program since the beginning. And we looked through our guiding principles of dual language. We decided what we wanted to work for this year. But at the same time, now we're in the place where we can actually invite one person from the other grade levels that haven't been part of the dual language so that they can be the speakers for that grade level. And so that is our next step, building that cohesive work together around the dual language. This year, there's been a dual language awareness at the district levels. We have been supported by the district level in different setups. So for our planning for our professional development, for PLCs, we have done it in the dual language way. So when we were talking about teaching clarity and success criteria, we made that professional learning based on dual language, and we actually had the teachers participate, and just as we would do it as students. So we're always trying to model that dual language process even in our staff meetings or our PLCs. And the district has supported in a way, yeah, do it your way. This is the way it's been set, but we can work on the PowerPoints. We can change anything we want. So it's been very supportive. Along with that is the new adoption for a curriculum for ELA. We have a separate curriculum in Spanish to sample, and that it's been given to us the option that we can adopt that curriculum if that's what fits our needs. So that has been very helpful. Also, the district has given, for all the teachers in the district, personalized professional learning plan, and some of our dual language teachers have taken that initiative to take that opportunity to go and visit other school districts that teach dual language so that they can get more feedback as well as more experience on what's working at other programs to refine our program. This year also, our principal has planted that seed, and I do believe it, that we're going to be the best school in Washington, the best dual language school. And so she's planted that seed that we should be presenting at WAVE conferences. WAVE is the Washington Association for Bilingual Education, and we submitted our plan for, we wanted to teach about how do we work in dual language, but also how do you work with a bilingual partner. So we submitted the application for dual language partnerships, and we got accepted. So we're going to go to Tacoma and present for our first time, and it's not going to be the last one. Also, it has our leadership administrative team has brought the recommitment of the pillars of dual language of education through administrative support, the dual language founders group, and the new dual language teachers. So these are the pillars of the dual language. And I just like what Isabel said, because if we give that opportunity to our students that they're learning the second language or they're learning Spanish now, I don't remember the number that you said, But I wonder how many of those kids were in the dual language program that passed the STEM assessment. So we're N1, N2, right? N1 right there. So if you go to the next one. And how are we doing this? We are building that collective teacher efficacy. We're believing in the work that we're doing and in each other. And we have a logo that says, lo que se dice se hace. So that what we said, we do. And that is our principle, continuously bringing it up. Remember that what we said, we do. So we're focusing on all our teachers understanding the Spanish and English data. By doing that, we are having, the data meters have shifted from just looking at my homeroom, and this is what my students are able to do, to be able to look at all the students and being able to say, if Jose is struggling in syllables, with syllables in Spanish, is he going to have the same problem in English? Yes, absolutely. So what is the English teacher going to do to support Jose in building that skill in syllable words? So we're looking at the data. How does the first language actually can transfer those skills into the second language? We're being intentional on the use of native language data. So that means that we're valuing the target language, which is Spanish first. We start the data meetings by looking at the Spanish data first, and then we move into the English. So that's raising the value of our target language for Lura-Kaga. We're consistent with the efforts of the system to build collective teacher, and that is our N1, where we want all of our kids to be bilingual, true bilinguals. Thank you.
So to better understand where we're going, we need to know where we started. Go to the next slide, please. So looking at this information, these are the scores from 2016, 2017 from ELA, the Smarter Balanced Assessment. So that tells us where those students ended the year. And this column tells you the amount of needed growth we need in order to meet our goals of percentages passing the SBA. Passing the SBA means that you scored a level 3, which is met standard, or a level 4, which is exceed standard. So right now, a growth of about 10% is what is needed for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders in order to get them to our standard, to our goal. And our goal is connected to closing the achievement gap between Lura-Kaga scores and the state average on the Smarter Balanced ELA test. So this is looking at Spanish reading data, and this is looking at accuracy. So at our dual language school, we're, like Rosalba said, working to increase the value of Spanish. And again, we're doing Spanish data first after the SBA data. And the accuracy scores are for grades 2 through 5. Grades 1 and 2 aren't on here because they don't take the same test, so we don't have that data the same way to compare them. And in order to get these scores, the students took the IDEL assessment, which is the Spanish version of DIBELS. And we look at their accuracy scores of these students while they're reading Spanish. Looking at this small piece is important because it helps us understand all the small pieces that we need to make sure students are able to do in order to make sure that they're strong readers. Right now, if you look at the accuracy data, you can see that between fall scores and winter scores, that there has been progress in all grade levels between 2 through 5. And that some of the grade levels have even met their goal and are working towards, now that they've met it, what are their next steps? Now switching to English. So this is the beginning decoding survey, and this assessment tool is used by Lura-Kaga and other schools in the district as a piece of the really great reading assessment. And this tells us how while students are reading words on a page and how they can break down words into decodable parts. And so the data also shows that students are making growth between the fall and their winter scores. And again, looking at the accuracy in the decoding is something that we should be doing in order to understand the small pieces that help us achieve our bigger goal of creating strong readers who are able to be successful in the classroom, but who are also able to demonstrate their understanding on bigger tests such as the SBA. This is a small piece of the bigger whole. Now some math data.
Thank you. So we wanted, we're going to share our math data now. So similar to the reading data, we have a goal to close the achievement gap between Linkage and the state averages. We wanted to make sure that you understand that math is taught one day in English and one day in Spanish. So it is taught bilingually throughout kindergarten through 5th grade in our program. And so students are learning one day in English, one day in Spanish, and building upon the lessons as they go. So in this table, our 2016-2017 ESPA math data is reflected here. And so as you can see, each grade level has the current score that passed last year and the needed growth that we have just to continue to close that achievement gap between Linkage and the state. And our goal, our ELA goal will take us 3 years, but our math goal will only take us 2 years. So if we go to the next slide, we look at the small data that's going to help get us to that bigger overall piece. So one of the pieces of data we are using this year is STAR 360 for math. We're able to use the scale scores for that assessment and see who met the benchmark in fall, and then now what percentage of our students are meeting the benchmark in winter. And as you can see, we've grown over the goal that we needed to in 2 of our 3 grade levels. And so that's progress to be celebrated for us. Having that many of our students increasing on that STAR assessment, we know we're moving in the right direction, and we're going to be able to see their small data help us improve that overall smarter balanced data. All right, so how are we going to keep getting where we've been going? We see some positive growth there. We're very encouraged. We have a strong instructional coach, and we're all working very closely to be a team. And so as we continue moving forward, these are the 4 points that we wanted to make sure we shared with you today. So in our system, we're continuing data analysis. So we're really digging deep with our teachers. We're using the data to set goals and measure our progress towards those goals. We're also using district-wide common assessments in grades 3 through 5. And through the data reflection and using those assessments, we're able to refine what we're teaching in our core instruction, as well as what interventions we're providing for our students to make sure we're not leaving anyone out. So we want to make sure that we help any students who are already achieving the benchmark. What are we going to do to be challenging them? And how do we support students who might be on an IEP or in our resource room, really hit the goals that they need to so that they can see that increase as well? We're going to continue on with our professional development opportunities, and they are strongly based in dual language. If we're not understanding how all students can perform in a dual language program, we're not going to hit our goals. So we're going to continue working on all teachers in our system understanding true biliteracy. We're going to continue having opportunities like attending the WABE conference or presenting there. And we're also already working with John to connect on our summer professional learning opportunities so that we really have the focus to hit our targets. A huge thing about a whole new team in a school is building trust, building a culture of trust with our teachers and with our students and with their parents. And so we're working to provide clear and consistent feedback to everyone in our system, and we're also working to take that feedback that we get from our teachers and from all of you. And so we're also working on celebrating the small pieces that get us there. Some days we want to make sure that we're taking ourselves seriously, but not too seriously that we can't stand back and laugh for a moment. And so we're really working to engage in positive conversations around instruction for our students, but also celebrate the small moments that we have, like getting a dog off the playground or maybe having a day where there wasn't one there. So we have a lot of great things to celebrate. Last week on Friday, I actually called a quick staff meeting, and everyone kind of panics at the end of the day when the principal gets on the intercom and says, "Staff meeting in the library now." But we had amazing things to celebrate. We had a positive visit with you all. That was such a refreshing thing for us. And to have a Teacher of the Year, Mari Vela was selected as the Chamber Teacher of the Year for K-5. To find out we were Wabe presenters, to have amazing parent nights. We had Amy led a safety parent meeting, and she had over 70 parents attend. And then on Friday, we ended the week with our Bring Your Families to Breakfast with our PTA putting that on. So it was one of those moments where you need to stand on top of a table and shout how awesome we're doing and just be thankful for everything. And so we did. And we're also going to continue creating a culture for learning. So as you saw at our school, we're working on providing STEM opportunities for all students with things like the makerspace. We're making sure that we're going to be more intentionally linking our data to our student celebrations. So we have spirit assemblies at Kaga, and we want to really show our students some of our pie charts or our growth that they have made and help them have us celebrate so that they can really get that, awesome feeling that they should have from the growth that they've made. And then we're also really honing in on those pieces that we can help students understand why it's important and what they need to do when they're learning in 2 languages. It's a struggle or a challenge for some of them sometimes, and when they really step back and think about it, their brains are working really hard, and they need to understand why they have that time to develop in both languages so that they can be encouraged to continue with their learning.
So one of the things that Jen mentioned is that we do have high standards, and we are pushing, and we are moving academically, and we are moving instruction, and we are having those conversations and doing that work with staff. But the other piece of that she mentioned is the celebrations and the fun, is that we need that balance. And this is a really great video that we wanted to share with all of you as an example of how we're not taking ourselves too seriously. So there's a jogathon that our PTA partners with us to do, and this year they asked us if we'd be willing to help them and if we'd be willing to get pied in the face, and we said, of course. And we even made plans to dress nice and look mortified when we got the pie all over us. We also, in another video, are dressed up in head to toe, yellow and blue with capes and headbands and all sorts of fun to encourage the students to participate. This year there was about $11,000 that was raised. That's more than ever before. And this is a clip from the assembly where the students who raised the most amount of money in the grade level got to choose someone to pie in the face. It's pretty exciting. What was awesome is that the assembly was completely run by the PTA, and they had parents staffing it and running it, and it was a really awesome experience to recognize students for their participation in the jogathon.
All right, and we're just going to end with our slogan this year. I hope you've heard it a few times, but we've got this. We've got this. We're sticking together as a team, and we're excited for the collaboration, and we're appreciative of feedback, and so we've got it. Go Lions, and thank you for having us. And if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Well, let's start with the student reps. They're chomping at the bit to ask questions.
Okay, I have a question with the Spanish reading data accuracy. Why is the goal so much lower in 4th grade? It's only 43%, while like in 2nd grade and 5th grade, it's in the 80s, 90s.
That is an awesome question. So we set our goals for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade based on the previous year's data. And so just like with our SBA data, we're not going to go from 30% passing in a grade level to 100% passing. And so we're starting from a realistic place about what were those students telling us around their data last year, and where should we get them to make sure that we're growing as a team and as a system. Our goals in kinder, 1st, and 2nd are really high, actually, 92%. I set that goal at the beginning of the year because we give a lot of Perez support and we have a lot of interventions in place, and we really should be seeing almost all of our students hitting those benchmarks. And so that's Does that help you understand the discrepancy in those goals?
Yes, so you're basing it off the end of the year last year or from the same spot as last year?
The end of the year where the students left, for example, if you looked at the third grade goal, wherever they left for accuracy in second grade, we said, okay, if the whole grade level is at that amount of accuracy, where should they get in third grade to keep us progressing towards all of our students passing?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Great question.
So how far was the jump that you wanted them to advance then? If you were using last year's data for those specific students, I assumed you raised it a bit.
Yes, we're going at least 10% increase, if not more, in some grade levels. So I would want to break it down with you specifically. Each grade level had a formula that I looked at, so I made sure it wasn't unrealistic, but it was still closing the gap between how many did we have passing before to now. They're all over 10% growth that we're expecting.
So when it says Spanish reading data, are these those students that are, because I know you don't start reading in the other language until they hit third grade, in their non-home language.
Right.
So this is the math one. Can you go to the reading one? So third grade, is that third grade that are reading in Spanish that are Spanish speakers at home goal of 75%? Or how?
This is third grade overall. That's a great question also. So our goal this year in third grade is to have 75% of all readers, English and Spanish readers, in Spanish accuracy to meet the benchmark of 98 words correct or better. So that's all 50 Spanish kids plus 25 more English kids should meet the goal by the end of the third grade year.
But in second grade, they're not reading Spanish if they have English as their home language. So is second grade just that one doesn't count?
Second grade is about the Spanish readers.
Okay.
So in kinder, first, and second, if we're talking about your reading data this year, we're talking about in your native language.
Okay.
Once you see anything third grade on, it's going to be in both languages. Yes, both language groups.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
So does that percentage follow the grade as it go, or is the fourth grade goal going on from the fourth grade class of last year then?
These are apples to apples. So the fourth grade goal, where it says 43% passing, was based on all of those students' data at the end of the third grade year. So at the end of third grade, this was their proficiency. Now this year we want to bump it up to 43% passing.
So, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
So if in second grade it's only the Spanish-speaking ones, then isn't the goal really high? So why? Okay, this is really confusing. So you're going from like a really high goal, and then you're bringing in the dominantly like English-speaking kids. Is that why it's such a drop, or because you said that they started in third grade and they still have a high percentage in third grade, but then it drops in fourth grade?
These goals were set this school year. Okay. So last year we didn't have second graders trying to hit 92% in their native language, and not all of our second graders who read first in Spanish were at benchmark. So that reflects where they were at and gaining some English students. Does that help? Okay, you're welcome.
You talked about going to other dual language schools. Where are other dual language schools at?
Yeah. Do you want to answer that one? Yeah. I'm going to let Rosalba answer it. She's been working with those teachers and communicating with them.
Okay, so Wenatchee has the Lewis and Clark dual language school, so that's Pasco and East Valley. And last weekend we were at a conference in Vancouver, Washington, and we met a consultant that is working with East Valley, so he's willing to provide more schools. But so they would be going to Wenatchee, Pasco, and East Valley.
Also at the Wabe conference, we met Rosalba and Marivela met some people from Dual Language of New Mexico too. So not with their professionalized learning money, but there's another partnership there for us as well. So we're reaching out not just within Washington State, but around the country.
And then my last question is slide, I think this is 3. Yeah. Your efficacy, is that your goal, or is that where you feel like you are now?
That's a great question also. So this is actually research data from John Hattie. Our district is actually looking into, have you heard about teacher clarity? And it has a certain effect size. So John Hattie's research around collective teacher efficacy, which really means that we believe in the work and each other, and we can get it done. If our school understands our students and our data and how to teach things the way that we need to in the dual language program, we're building our collective teacher efficacy, and that's going to have over 3 years of growth for our students in 1 year's time. So that's what these graphs, or these, I call them fans, that's the hinge point is 0.4. So if you are using a strategy that can get you 0.4 growth or better for your students, that means they're going to grow a year's growth in a year's time. If you have true collective teacher efficacy, you're going to be growing more than 3 years in a year's time. Your students will be growing that way. So that's what we're working towards. So if you were to Google John Hattie and collective teacher efficacy, you would find this example, and that's
so
what
you're
the
saying
image.
this is your dream goal.
Yeah.
What you're working towards.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. We're going to get it. We've got this, so we'll get there.
So before I ask for the board members, that's a great question, Jen, and I think one of the things that Mike and I have benefited from is all year, every school visit, we've learned about these teacher efficacy and different and Hattie's work in general.
Mm-hmm.
But they explain it to us really well at first, and then I think there's an assumption that we kind of know it now. But for you guys just coming on, I think it would be a good idea maybe if I'm going to ask Dr. Hurst maybe at the next board meeting to give us a brief explanation of Hattie's work, because each school when we visited has referenced it, and it really is interesting, the whole idea behind it.
Right.
And so that was a great question, but I've
Right.
forgotten. I've
They
seen
all
it,
do.
so
They all do reference it, but normally it's like 1.27. So I was like, how did you guys get 1.57? Okay, or something closer to that number. So I was just clarifying. Thank you.
I have a question. When we went, we got to see the Spanish-speaking students, like, in their class and stuff. And you had mentioned they have their English teacher and then they have their buddies. Is that just in our district, or is that like all?
This is what we're presenting on Awabe.
The Bilingual Buddies. Okay, so honestly, it should be happening across the district, because that's how the kids are going to be able to learn the language, by communicating, by having that relationship with the partner. But that's something that we have always done in the dual language, working with the partner. So if I'm in the classroom with Jen, I'm helping her in her language. So even though the kids are in Spanish in kinder, most of those kids can communicate in English, some words. So they're able to help their partners by, oh, the teacher is saying that you need to color this. Or so they're supporting each other. And so when they're in the English class, the English student becomes that partner for them to make the learning comprehensible for them.
And it is a dual language strategy, so it's used, if you went to other dual language schools, you would see bilingual buddies and partnerships in language.
That's awesome. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
No, I just thoroughly enjoyed my visit there, and it was nice to see, actually get in the classrooms there and see what goes on. I hear about it all the time, but you never get to see it.
I love that you introduced yourself as Mrs. Johnson's husband.
Yes.
And I love Makerspace. That's cool.
So just two comments for me. It was really nice to hear, both in the staff meeting that we had and parents, just really overwhelmingly positive comments. And so good job. I mean, we've got all three of you are new to your positions this year, so that says a lot about how you've stepped in there in that leadership role. And my next one, just for Rosalba. So believe it or not, I struggle with speaking in public. And so I've heard you speak in public a few times. You're getting better every time. So keep it up. You're doing really good.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. If there's no other questions, then we'll move on.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your report. Okay, so we'll move on to item D1. So this would be the submission of the latest EL monitoring reports from the superintendent. Those are there for us to read, and when we answer our Survey Monkey, we'll know what to go off of. If there's any clarifying questions the board has for the superintendent today, it's a good time to ask it. That way we don't have to wait till next meeting.
Perfect.
All right.
On EL1, I have a question, Chris. So on your vision, right, that was in EL1. Some places it's STEM and some places it's STEAM. And across the district, I see both everywhere. That's really confusing. Of course, I have a preference. But I've had other people approach me about their frustration about that as well. Not just parents. And so that would be, I think, better if there was one picked and district-wide followed. And then it talked about parent engagement training. What is that?
So I'll speak to the STEAM
Yes.
conversation first. So that is something that we're still having conversations about, but we've been very clear about arts embedded in the STEM process. I think we just need to finalize all the documents that we send out. But there's still some conversations happening about that. And once myself and the assistant superintendent, we get all the information disseminated and reach a consensus, then we'll make sure that we'll clarify all those documents for the community. And as far as parent engagement, when you look at this is the work that our director, Jennifer Garza, is doing. So when you look at the Learn Academy that she's having on Tuesdays, the big focus is on parent engagement and parent training. And that's one of the pieces that we benchmarked also from Harlem Children's Zone.
So you're in the parent engagement training, you're only referencing pre-K.
Well, the vision is that we will engage with every single parent
Okay.
in the community.
Okay.
So we're starting with that 4-year plan, so we're starting small. We have it's our second cohort, but the idea is to touch all parents within the Othello community.
Great. I would love to personally see, and I know other parents are the same, a training on how to use and understand Chromebooks. As a parent that has 3 that have them, I get all kinds of different answers from children that say, oh no, I can't get that here, when they have them at home, and those kinds of things. Just like a beginning of the year, this is how you do it, and then hearing other moms, especially that have daughters, concerns about Google Chats and the safety of the idea of a Google chat room, where my boys were oblivious to the idea when I asked them that question.
I think
I
all
was
that
grateful
was
for
blocked.
that.
They can't
It's-
get on.
Now it's blocked.
It should be, because you can't even get onto like educational sites. It's like when we're doing research projects, I mean, you have to go through a whole bunch of stuff just to get to one site. So I think the IT department has done really good on blocking.
Okay, so that's just recently though?
They did like a whole wipeout like a week or so ago, and they
Oh,
just
okay.
like totally.
Okay.
So I think your Google Chats are a no-no.
Gone?
Yeah.
Gotcha. But I mean, it would be great to have an opportunity, I think, for parents to be able to get into, and each school has their own style and personality anyways as well. Maybe, I don't know whether it needs to come from a school perspective. This is how you get into Skyward, or this is how you check different things, or this is how, yeah, they should be able to get into those kinds of things. Does that make sense?
It does. And that's something that I certainly can talk with Rigo
Okay.
about in his area.
Thanks. That was all of the EL ones.
Can I make a comment on that really quick? One thing I did wish that they would do is that they'd be more consistent on what they block, because there are times like one thing will be blocked and then it'll be open the next week, and so it's not really consistent, so we don't know what is blocked and what is not. And I don't know if this is possible, but I know especially for younger children, like parents, they monitor what they watch. They like set timers on TVs. They have disabled apps on phones so their kids can't get into them. So I was just curious if there's a way that we can get parents a way to get into Go Guardian at home so they can see what is on their student's Chromebook. Just a thought.
Ditto. Let's see. EL 15. It said that MMS has their matrix online. I cannot get to schools at all on the district website anymore. Each school used to have their own page. There is no longer pages for each school.
Well, we can check that right now.
Okay. What? I did it right before this meeting. I even called someone at the district office a couple days ago and said, how do I get to this? And she goes, oh, it's right here. And I'm like, no, it's not. Okay, so. Okay, see, I don't have.
Where it says select the school, top right.
I don't have that option. I'm here. I don't have that option. There's no select a school. And at work, this is the same. It looks the same as this.
Can you scroll up?
I'm up as high as it'll go. I can go down, but I can't go up any higher.
That's interesting. Yeah, I see the select school as well.
So I can check, well, we can check yours during the break.
Okay, but
Yeah.
but the same. I had the same problem at work.
At work?
Because it used to have in that bar, it used to have like schools or something, and so I just thought, oh, maybe it's moved, and I couldn't figure it out. But do you want to see? I don't have a select a school at the top. I'm not an idiot.
Oh, Kaden couldn't find it either.
Okay. Well, anyways, okay, that's good to know because I was trying to find something else. Oh, I was trying to find all of the elementary principals' emails without calling someone and saying, give me all of their emails over the phone. Okay, then back on EL 15. In the matrix, for 1A, parents were included at the elementary and the middle school, but not at the high school, according to your notes, and there was no student involvement in any of those matrix. I just wanted to verify that.
Yeah, so we put in exactly what we received and what we,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. It talked about for discipline issues that the elementaries can use Skyward. Is there a way that parents can use Skyward through the elementaries?
Pete?
So when you say use Skyward, I need some clarity around what that means.
I would like to know what assignments my children are missing at the elementary school, number one. But because I had always been told that Skyward isn't something that exists at the elementary level, it only exists at the middle school and the high school level. I guess they were referring to grades, but it kept referring to, oh, we'll put that there's a discipline issue with a specific student so that the teachers and other staff can access that.
So the primary practice for folks that have processed discipline in the last few years has been, at the elementary level, has been the write-up. Pink slip that they write, the para might write up. That was always transitioned over to Skyward electronically, so we had those records and could submit them to the state. But our schools at the elementaries are able to input discipline in that way. Our teachers do not access Skyward K-5 in the same fashion that they would 6-12, so missing assignments and those kinds of things, it's not currently their practice. So that piece of Skyward you would not be able to access or would find very user-friendly for your student, but the discipline piece and lunch fees and those kinds of things, they live on Skyward for students K-12.
Okay. Oh, now I've got to go into this and I have a specific question. there's a graph on page 4, I think this is the graph I'm talking about, of your 113-page document. Let's see. Okay, it is this pink and blue one. So, just to verify, the female numbers are just on top. They're not behind and on top of the male, correct?
They're on top. So if you look at the
Okay.
2016 school year, you'll see 405. So that's right above 303, which is the males.
Okay. When I first saw that, I thought, how is there more girls? But, all right, I understand. And then... So then the paragraph underneath says, during the 2015-16 school year, we had 708 suspensions compared to 614. Or 644. Those numbers did not add up. The 708 and the 644, according to that graph.
So the 405 plus the 308, the 303, that's the 708
405
at the very top.
plus the 303.
So the total number of suspensions for females and the total number of suspensions for males.
I think that contradicts your last statement.
Yep.
Should be 303 males and 102 females for a total of 405, correct?
Is that right? I stand corrected.
Okay. All right, because I just kept going. How are you getting there? Okay.
I stand corrected.
All right, I understand. Okay. I didn't write notes on where here we go. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to figure out what page this is, but if you go to the OHS discipline matrix, and let's see if I can figure out what page. I think I'm on page 16. You're too far. Go back up. It didn't load fast enough. Right there. Okay. The interventions. These are the behaviors. Underneath are the interventions. The lists were really odd. So level 2, it says parent, teacher, administrator. Is that a conference? Potentially, you have to attend evening school if you get to level 2. I didn't fully understand what it was trying to say for the interventions.
Peter, as you look at that, what do you?
Yeah, so these are recommendations, the communication tool for staff members and for parents to say, as you think about submitting a disciplinary referral to Skyward, have you considered the level of intervention that you've taken on because you're the nearest adult, the one responsible for that interaction? So this would be a comment for a level 2 would be, did I call home? Did I make a phone call home before I send it to a principal? Did I let the student know, hey, I'm going to talk to your other teachers, or I'm going to call your folks tonight and let them know that we had this interaction today. I'm not going to send a referral to Mr. Vergara, but I'm going to call home. It's those kinds of actions that we're trying to prompt folks to take rather than just submitting a referral and walking away. That's what that means to me, and I believe that's how teachers would interpret it.
I'm sorry, the level 2, it says parent, teacher, administrator. I guess that in reading it, that I don't understand what that is saying you're supposed to do. So for me, it would be, as I look at the other columns, it would be
the level of communication that's expected. Now that you report it in that way. We may just be off a column now that I look at it. It may be that those 3 cells in the center, that they should move up. That would be how I would look at it.
Okay.
Are you with me on that explanation?
So the parent teacher administrator should be in the box above, is what you're saying, is what?
That's what I'm
You're saying
suggesting,
possibly.
having looked at the rest of the graph.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a question, just clarification. Well, 2, on page 8, under intervention ideas for level 1. I don't know if you guys want to get there. It says that a student can lose recess or lunch. Are you allowed to lose lunch?
Basically just
Or is it like lunch detention? Lunch detention? Okay, I took that totally different. And then, well, it says loss of lunch. Straightforward. Okay, page 6, straightforward if you think about it, dude. I'm taking away your food. And then on page 6, for consistency purposes, you guys group DOHS and OHS with the same guidelines, yet each of the 4 elementary schools go by different protocols. Why aren't they the same, just like the 2 high schools are?
What was your question again, one more time, Kaden?
That being in the same school district, you group the 2 high schools with the same not policy, but like, I don't know what word I just used, protocol. But then with the 4 elementary schools, they each have a different protocol. So I was just curious, why?
So are you referring to this document or to the matrix?
That one.
Yeah. So the matrix is consistent. It's everybody uses that K5. What this document refers to is what are actions or activities that each site shared with us about how they communicate with their teachers. So you would expect some autonomy from this diagram based on this is how Jen Perez communicates, this is how Amy Wright communicates, and over at Hiawatha it might be a different type of communication, but the outcome is the same. The students and parents would experience a consistent discipline matrix. It's just the style of communication that lives at that school. That's I think language and communication is a big part of school culture, and so I think that's why you might see it reporting that way.
That was all my specific questions tonight. For those.
All right. Any others on the board? Okay. We will move on to then a board approval of monitor and response documents. So these 3 documents were compiled at the end of last board meeting as the board went through our Survey Monkeys. So we could just take a general approval of all documents if you'd like, or separate them out.
I move to approve monitoring response documents for EL4, EL5, and GP12.
There's been a motion to approve monitoring response documents EL4, EL5, and GP12 by Director Garza. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Second by Director Johnson. Any discussion? One thing I would like to bring up. Too quick of a trigger, Talia. One of the things that I need to get better at as a president is also asking if there are exceptions or if there is anything that's non-compliance, what your plan is to come back into compliance, even if there's just an item. And so I can't bring them up. I can bring up EL4 because I happen to have it up. But there was an inspection there that had to do with the principal and the handbook. Has this been something that you've addressed already, or do you plan to, so that we would know when there's a timeline when you plan on being in compliance with the exceptions?
me just look at that comment, Mr. President. So I think this is a side conversation I had with Director Stevenson, I believe. And I think I shared with you at that meeting that I spoke with the principal and of Othello High School, and there was a difference of how that conversation transpired, and he wanted the opportunity to be able to sit down with you. I think I just shared this with you also. So we did go to the principal right away and have a conversation about this, and I just think that there's a difference of an opinion. So I think we can set up a meeting between you
Right.
and the principal
Okay.
to make sure that gets clarified.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that Rob might also be referring to the school calendar was also found having that other input. Rob, is that what you were referring to as well? There was not stakeholder and staff, or there was staff, but not stakeholder and student input as well. I think that was another issue on that same one.
Yeah, and then another one was that the OHS handbook dress code explained, and then what was in the dress code in the handbook were not the same. So there was a few issues of that were mentioned that. So
Yeah,
I think
so-
what we need to make sure we're doing when we're doing the Survey Monkeys, and I think that I need to ask the question of the superintendent. These are some exceptions. When do you expect to have that be in compliance with that, so that can actually be into the remarks? But since it wasn't, I wanted to just have the conversation now.
And what we typically do after every board meeting, I will typically have a meeting with the principal the next time I visit their school. So I've already addressed all of those with Pete and also with Mr. Vergara.
Okay, that's essentially what
Yeah.
I was hoping to hear.
So are you asking, Mr. President, that his expected timelines are on the document before it gets approved?
I think that we need to talk about it in the future, what the exceptions are. Then I need to actually ask Dr. Hurst, what is his timeline? He just told us on that one, it's already been dealt with. So now the next time, we could choose to monitor it earlier if we wanted to, but the next time to monitor it would be in a year unless we change the board calendar. Okay. The next thing is EL5.
Can I make a comment on EL4 really quick?
Are you just dying over there trying
I'm
to
just
jump out of your
dying.
chair saying?
Just because
So what do you want, first let me ask, what do you want to comment on?
I am
And I'm only asking that
commenting
because
stakeholders.
we can evaluate the superintendent on EL, so.
Not
wanna make sure we're
evaluating
getting
him,
evaluated.
just the use of the word stakeholders. Question. I don't know if it's a question. Just because last time we actually talked about it, a lot of people had different interpretations on who the stakeholders were. So I just want to say that maybe we should specify in the future who is who, so everyone has the same idea instead of like one person taking it like, oh, students are involved, and another one being like, no, they're not, like it doesn't pertain to them. So just to specify that, to find common ground, so it is consistent throughout everything. That was it.
That's a great comment, and we actually talked about that when we discussed these in our workshop, and so I think that's the direction we're going to go. I don't think it's been dealt with, I think stakeholder probably comes up in several of our policies and may not get all dealt with tonight, but I think there's one we specifically reworded. So, good comment. Because I feel the same way. Stakeholder sometimes means different things to certain people, so. EL5 was in compliance, so there was no issues on that one. So does the board feel good about Dr. Hurst made the statement that he has already dealt with those exceptions even now, so
Yes.
I personally don't feel we need to have a
He didn't
time.
address the calendar, though. That
So you
we
talked
still
to Pete
haven't
about it.
approved yet. Oh, okay. So, in compliance now, or working towards compliance? Do we need to worry about that
It doesn't
part?
change our compliance decision.
Right.
It just, we talked before, if we were to find out a compliance, but never have any expectation that the superintendent says, yeah,
Fix it,
we're fixing
right.
that.
He's got a year.
Then we come back in a year and we find it again. It's kind of our fault for not having an expectation, right? That
Right.
He lets us know. So
Okay.
that's why I was wanting to.
Okay. I
to do
agree.
that.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready to
Any
vote?
other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. We will move on to the fun stuff. E1, policy review. So I had made a request of the board members I know we have 35 policies, to come with, there's certain ones I'm sure that were some clerical things that you're like, well, I don't have any questions about that, but there's going to be certain ones that you'd like to discuss. My hope is that you can tell me the ones you'd like to discuss. I'm going to make a note of them here. All the rest, we'll try to approve and get out of the way first, and then we'll have our discussions about the ones that we'd like to discuss.
I have a clerical question before we're discussing these. So if we approve one and it takes out a bunch of lines, then how does that numbering system work? Not for the numbering of like, if we delete an EL. I'm talking about within, let's say, EL 7, we have 1, 2, 7, and 12. Do they just automatically all become 1, 2, 3, 4? How does that work? Because that was some of my questions. Some of those numbering things will be way off.
Well, my suggestion to Dr. Hurst was that since we've already monitored some ELs that will no longer be in there, we don't want to make any changes, in my opinion, until next year when we set a new calendar. And I think probably like the end of July, as a board, we will rename numbers for our policies. And then the following meeting, we'll approve a new calendar for when the new policies will be monitored for that upcoming school year. Does that make sense? So we're going to leave them there. They'll be blank for now.
I'm talking about the numbers within the policy, the numbering system within. So go into EL 15, and now instead of having 1, 2, 3 to 12, it has 1, 2, 7, and 12. I'm just using as an example. Specifically in EL 8, the numbering system is now, if we're deleting a bunch of lines to revise it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You mean the bulleted items?
Yes.
Yes, they will just, typically we've just.
They're going to fix themselves, and we don't need to worry about that.
And we eliminated 4, we'll have 3, and they'll be number 1, 2, 3. But we're not going to approve everything tonight like we had been in the last few meetings. I've requested that we actually get these again so that we can see the final format of the document and then do maybe a blanket approval of all of them. Not to discuss the policy itself necessarily, we always can, but just to make sure, yeah, we're approving. That format looks right. And that's where we can sometimes catch misspellings too, because it's hard with all that red, in my opinion. Sometimes you miss grammatical or spelling errors, things like that. So we'll have a chance to look at these again for a final approval, just hopefully, and I have a lot of faith in Talia. I think it will be, I'll just say, approve item 1 through 75.
Okay. Yes. I want to take out EL 1.
Oh, you want to discuss
Yep.
EL 1. Okay, got it.
EL 20. BSR 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. Ken, do you have any specific ones that you wanted to discuss?
No, I don't.
And Mike, okay. I wanted to discuss EL, essentially EL 8 and 9. Make sure that was the one. Yes. Okay, so this is going to get a little tricky here, but before we go into trying to group them together, I want to take care of the 3 that are just the ones that are in our normal calendar items, and that would be EL 4, EL 5, and GP 12. If I don't have, if there's no questions on those are none of the ones that you asked about, Jen, right?
Nope.
Okay.
None of those.
Then I'd like to get a motion to. No, we don't need a motion. Never mind. Okay, I'm gonna step back for a minute, Mike. We don't necessarily need to move to if we don't change a policy, right? It's in policy review. We don't make any changes. We move on. Okay. So those are done with. We're gonna move into the policy review where there's been revisions. All right. So I'm first gonna ask. For approval of, hang with me here, guys. This, I hope, will make it faster as we go through. I'll accept a motion for approval of policy revisions to EL 3, 4, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19.
I make a motion that we do all that you said.
So you can say so moved.
So moved. Thanks.
So there's been a motion by Director Stevenson to remove the before mentioned, to approve the revisions to the aforementioned ELs.
Second.
Second by Director Garza. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Now, there's probably, I don't think we're going to be able to do it that way, Talia, because I think you probably just took a motion to approve every single one of them, right? Or you have to separate these out. Okay. The next one I want to talk about are all of the GPs that are in here. I will accept a motion to approve revisions to GP 2, 4, 4.1, 4.1.1, 4.1.2, GP 5, GP 6, GP 8, GP 8.2, GP 10, and GP 17.1.
So moved.
By the motion by Director Garza to approve the revisions to the aforementioned policies. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Director Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion carries 4-0. Next one, just moving on to BSRs. I want to ask for a motion to approve the revisions to BSR 4, 4.1, 4.1.1, and 4.1.2.
So moved.
And a motion by Director Stevenson to approve those revisions. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Director Garza. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0 again. Now I split out EL 5, 6, 7 because they're going to be combined, and we have to have a strange motion on this, I guess. So this will be a motion to approve the new EL 5, which is a combination of EL 5, 6, and 7. And then I'll ask for a motion then to remove EL 6 and 7. And when I ask for that motion to remove, I'm asking for a motion to basically leave a blank EL. It will still be EL 6, there just won't be any words in it. Okay? We good with that? So, is there a motion to approve the new revised policy EL 5 with the removal of EL 6 and EL 7?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Director Johnson to approve the revision.
Second.
Second by Director Stevenson. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. One more. Same thing with EL 10. That's a combination of EL 10 and 11 to make the new EL 10. So I'll take a motion to approve the revised EL 10, and with that to delete the contents of EL 11.
So moved.
Motion by Director Garza to approve.
Second.
Second by Director Stevenson. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. I think that saved us time, but just created a lot more work for Talia, so I'm sorry on that, but you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get right into item EL, the new revised EL 1. Jen, you had some questions on that.
It says monitoring method and frequency. Did we want to keep that? Nobody else of the ELs have that.
If you look down to the revised one on page 2, it's crossed out.
I didn't scroll down.
Oh, well, now you did. What do you think? Does it look good?
Looks good.
All right. I will accept a motion to approve the revised EL 1, which would then delete the contents of EL 2 as well.
Yeah, what you said, ditto.
So moved.
So moved.
Then a motion by Director Stevenson,
Second.
second by Director Garza. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, hold on. Let me go into 20 before I discover that.
I was going in order now, Jen.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I'm just messing with you. You can go 20. So 20 was the one that was that I had mentioned in our workshop that I was going to recommend for removal, right? That's what that one's there
I
for.
don't know what my question was now.
It's going to just keep getting faster as long as we have
Yep,
those.
we're good. Let's just
So I'll
delete that
explain
baby.
my recommendation to remove EL20. I was the one who made the recommendation to create EL20 a couple years ago after an NSBA conference. I just felt there was a need to have some specific address or policy for our high cap program. I feel that these items are now in district operating policy and being dealt with, and I just feel like it's not something that's needed at this point. So that's why I recommended deletion. Not that I don't think we need a highly capable program. I want everyone and everyone who's
Well, and it
listening to
addresses
understand that.
highly capable in one of these others somewhere.
It's now our advanced
Something.
academic program
Right.
actually brings that in. It's less specific, but some of these items here are in our highly capable plan in the district operating policies, so I feel comfortable with that. So, I have a motion to eliminate, we will actually,
Remove. Is that, yeah.
this one we could eliminate altogether because it is the 20th, and we don't have anything we're leaving a gap with. And I don't even know if we've monitored this year. It's coming up. So by eliminating it now, there won't be any monitoring. We can actually eliminate this one altogether. So I'll look for that motion.
I motion that we remove EL 20.
There's been a motion to eliminate EL 20 from the policies.
I'll second that.
Second by Director Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. I said aye in my head. Sorry, didn't say that verbally. Okay. Jen, I'm going to take care of the EL 8 and 9, and then we'll move
Sure.
on to the BSRs if you're okay with that.
Yep.
So, as I was looking through the new EL 8, if you remember, the recommendation was to combine EL 8 and 9. If you look, there would be 18 bulleted items on that, I think. Director Ashton had made some recommendations to remove some of those. And I'm in agreement overall with what he was asking to do there. What I would like to add, though, first, I believe 8 and 9 should be separate, because one is budget planning and one is budget execution. And I don't really like the format when you have two broad comments and then bulleted items underneath. That's just my personal preference. So that would be my preference, to leave it as EL 8 and EL 9. I realize it's two policies, but I think these are two policies we monitor at the same time. But they are speaking to two different things. And so I don't know how the board feels about that. I'm okay with all the revisions with what that Director Ashton made, but I'd like to add one to budget planning. And it's a little bit of the wording of some of the things he eliminated. And I'll read what I'd like it to say as a bullet item, and I'll explain my reasoning. But the bullet item would say, financial planning for any fiscal year shall not deviate materially from the board's ends policies. Fail to follow statutory requirements, fail to be derived from a multi-year plan, nor risk fiscal jeopardy to the district. Therefore, the superintendent, when recommending a budget, shall not cause or allow, this item would be, a failure to disclose new sources of revenue as well as new areas of expenditures when compared to the prior year budget. My reason for that is sometimes a budget is so vast and I'll look at it and I'll be like, okay, that's probably the same as last year. What I'd like it if it could be pointed out that, by the way, here's some new revenue that we didn't have last year. Here's some new expenditure areas that we didn't expend in last year. Maybe new programs or things like that. Those would help to me as a board member to understand some new things that we're doing. And that's why I wanted that bulleted item. So I don't know what the board feels about that. It was kind of spoke to that in some of the ones he deleted. Not exactly like that. So that's why I wanted to, it's okay to eliminate 4 of them if you just come with one that's more concise. And that just made sense to me to have that in there still.
As long as you work with Talia on which ones are going to be taken out and which ones are going in for if we're taking 8 and 9, the joined one, and still taking out some of those lines, and you guys work through that, then I'm willing to look at that after, because that's, I just can't say yes at this point.
What are your guys' thoughts about combining those policies or keeping them separate?
I think you should need to keep them separate, because like I said, one addresses planning, one addresses execution.
Okay.
So,
What are your thoughts?
I agree
Mike?
as well.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a consensus to keep them separate. So what I feel comfortable with is all the changes that were suggested there by Director Ashton and crossed down. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with all the changes then to the what would be EL 9. I just would like to have them separate policies, and then I would like to have this bulleted item added to EL 8.
Okay.
Okay, so I will make sure that Talia's clear on what I was asking.
And you'll
there.
still take out the method and the frequency at the bottom of those. For
Yep, they're crossed
Right.
out. And that,
Okay.
so I'm going to make a motion on this one, just to, because I think I have it, my head wrapped around it. So I move to. No,
I don't think you can.
can't.
No.
it's in there as a revision. So no, we're just going to have this again in the next board meeting in policy review as a first reading.
Because Tony's gonna want to look at that too when you change that.
Well, he doesn't show up for meetings. That's too bad.
I'm
No,
just
I'm sure he'll
giving
have-
you fair warning, I guess, for next
I'm sure he'll have
time.
some-
Is all I'm saying.
Some remarks. He's probably listening now. All right, so then we'll move on to the BSRs, Jen, that you had. So you had questions on BSR 1, 2, and 3, correct? So that will just stay in there. But it will be separated out.
I don't know what it was on one, because what I wrote down, the problem was it's gone.
Was it the frequency again?
Yeah, I think it was a frequency, but now that I'm looking at them, maybe this was the end of when I was looking at them and I'd been on looking
These
at
are
them for too long at this point.
Easy things to explain, Jen, so this.
Nope, they're all crossed out. I'm good. I was thinking frequency, that they all had frequency in there, and now that I'm looking at them, they're not.
Are you talking on all three of them?
Yes, 1, 2, and 3.
All right, then with that, I'll accept a motion to approve revisions to item BSR 1, 2, and 3.
So moved.
Been a motion by Director Stevenson to approve those revisions. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Director Garza. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. I think we just got through that policy review.
Did you
in
time it?
totality, right? I didn't. It was faster than 45 minutes, though. I'm sure of that. Good job, you guys.
The only thing that's
Well-
coming back is 8 and 9.
8 and 9, well, all of them will come back
They're all
in their
coming
final
back.
form. 8 and 9 will come back as two separate
Re-revised.
policies with the red still in it. So, good job. We had a good workshop and we discussed what we needed to in that. All right. So, now there's a need for executive session to discuss negotiation strategy. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess, and we'll be back for executive session right around 8:45.